Here's some more of the extremely long windrow that we built at National Public Lands Day. Way out there.
So this is an example of a windrow in a little one that needs a little kind of TLC to kind of make it a little better. But what we want to do in a lot of areas where we're cutting ligustrum at knee height, so we can come back later and treat those stumps, is we want to process all of the branches to be as straight as possible. And then what we want to do is we want to create a pile a couple feet wide by 3 or 4 feet tall that runs parallel to the trail and also to the creek. And what this is going to do is that any water from rain coming off the trail, if there's any kind of bare ground, it'll be slowed tremendously by this pile and kind of filter it in. The other thing, nice thing about putting everything in kind of one big long running pile is that you kind of concentrate any of the seeds, any of the branches, any of the twigs, so if you do have any kind of resprouting, you know where to go. But this is a good example of an area that is going to recover pretty well because you have a lot of grass already in this area and also some understory plants that are starting to resprout. And the thing that we find when we pull out these invasive species like ligustrum is that you basically open up the whole area to sunlight, and essentially all the native plants start regenerating almost immediately. So the most important thing is to process the windrow so it's as dense and compact as possible. So what I'm going to do with some of this stuff right here is I'm going to actually cut some of the forked branches off and kind of pile them a little more effectively. You can also just use your hands. A good example of taking this kind of stuff, kind of forking in different directions, and just kind of break it down so it's as straight and flat as possible. And what you can then do is make the piles a lot more compact. So here's a good example of a tree that was wrenched out. You can see the roots at the bottom here and has all these kind of forked branches. And what you just want to do is just kind of break off all the branches so you're left with basically a straight trunk at the end. And all these branches and the straight trunk will lie flatter on the windrow here. See, a lot of it's a lot straighter and flatter, and then it'll pack down a lot better. Our big thing is just try to make these as compact as possible because we end up with a lot of stuff once we start cutting down some of these bigger trees, and it just builds up really quickly. So if you're doing processing or you're building windrows, what you're going to be doing is what I'm doing here, which is just breaking off a lot of branches. It's not hard. You can think.
Really long windrow. Good stump.